Ms. Larson, we are pleased to have you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Lantos and Ranking Member Ross Lehtinen, distinguished members of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Let me start, Mr. Chairman, by thanking you. And as was noted by Mr. Burton, there are a number of resolutions that are before this committee. For so long in this Congress, American voices haven't had the opportunity to be heard. I thank you for this opportunity and the consideration that you've granted members of Congress who have so many constructive resolutions to put forward. And I hope in the process of weighing the very important debate and dialogue that's going on, that my proposal will be considered amongst those. Let me start by saying that this calls, as the Chairman has pointed out, for the repeal of the provisions in the resolution that got us into the war in Iraq at its outset. Why so? Well, we have to go back to the President's historic speech at West Point. In that speech at West Point in June of 2002, the President outlined what has become the doctrine of this administration. This doctrine was new to this country. The doctrine was a doctrine of preemption and unilateralism. Oddly enough, the strongest critics of this doctrine that was inaugurated in June of 2002, and the most outspoken critics of it were Scowcroft, Eagleburger, Kissinger, and Baker, because they saw in this new doctrine the problematic concerns that would happen if one nation were to launch nuclear at another in a preemptive strike. They understood far too well, as Bush the Elder did, the need for us not to go into a conflict unilaterally, but to go into a conflict with support. And in the process, what the administration did, alarmingly, is undermine more than 50 years of foreign policy based on diplomacy, deterrence, and containment, and overturned Caspar Weinberger's doctrine that the United States should never be involved in a military activity unless its vital interests are threatened, and then to make sure that it had appropriate plans, including an exit strategy. And further then overturned, breathtakingly, the Powell Corollary, which says if the United States is to be involved, that it go in and use overwhelming force to secure the safety of our troops, the borders, and to be able to provide for an exit strategy. Therein is the problem that we are dealing with. This legislation seeks to revote this, to provide the opportunity for us not to abandon the policies of a single president, but to re-embrace the policies of a nation that established the Marshall Plan, that provided us with a diplomacy that created an environment where the United States enjoyed respect throughout the globe. Today, because of these policies, we have undermined our standing in the world, throughout Europe and with most countries around the world. And we've devastated it with the Muslim world. We need a change in direction. We have virtually the entire world behind us when we went into Afghanistan, and that has become the second front, and that is the second portion of this bill. To unite this Congress as we stood on the steps, as this chairman outlined, what we needed to do in the war against terrorism and to actually go after the people who took down the towers, who hit the Pentagon, and but for those brave souls on Flight 93 would have hit the United States Capitol or the White House for sure. This legislation calls for us to go after and bring to justice Osama bin Laden, to go after